morning, students. Welcome back again. Right, we are going to discuss chapter number 16 today. Right, a new chapter, a new topic, and something new that you are going to learn. Right, we are going to discuss about economic liberalization and globalization. What is economic liberalization and what is economic globalization? Right, in the previous chapter, that is chapter number 15, we have all discussed about economic development. What is economic development? What is the difference between progress and development? What are the economic activities? What are the non-economic activities? What are the steps taken by the government for the better economic development? Right, what are the difference between developed countries and developing countries? What are the things that are to be taken care, right, for the development? What are the things, right, that will be taken care for the amount of the money that should be kept revolving? All these things we have seen in chapter number 15, right? And there was one concept named as liberalization and globalization, a small concept that we saw in the textbook. The name was mentioned, right? That is all about liberalization and globalization. So we are going to discuss in detail what is economic liberalization and what is globalization, right? Today we are going to discuss three topics. What are the three topics? First is economic liberalization, second, that is privatization, and the third one, that is globalization. What it is, we'll look into the textbook, page number 128. Page number 128. First paragraph. When India became independent in 1947, our government accepted the path of planning to achieve speedy and economic development. It took over a charge of achieving speedy economic development by implementing 5 years plan. After independence, the first thing that we took in the terms of development of our own nation was a 5-year plan. Right, our government structure is also based on a 5-year system. Every 5 years there is always an election at the central level. All right, so we have discussed all these things slightly in chapter number 15, that is about liberalization and globalization. We are going to look in detail, right? So the first step that we took after independence was a 5-year plan, right? Monetary policies, fiscal policies, and other industrial policies have been announced for this. Although many of these plans were completed, success was not attained in achieving economic development in true sense. In spite of planning each and everything, right, government tried to implement a 5-year plan in the terms of fiscal policies, monetary policies, and industrial policies, but the amount of success that was needed, or that was actually required, was not being attained, right? Because the number of people were constantly increasing, the population of India was constantly increasing. As the population was increasing, the needs and the demands and the desire and the wants of the people were constantly increasing, right? And we were making a trade which was totally internal. We were not ready to accept the foreign goods. That was the thing, and that was not allowing our country to make success in terms of all these policies. In spite of making all these policies, right, whatever success as a nation that we wanted, we were not able to achieve that amount of success. That was the problem, right? Because there was no economic liberalization and globalization. Whatever the plans that were being made by the government for our own country, and especially for the internal trade. We were not concerned with the foreign items. We are not concerned with the foreign imports and exports. We used to produce in India and we used to sell it in India. That was the situation after independence. But slowly and steadily, we understood that the needs and the demands that the public want, we won't be able to satisfy individually, right? That is what gave birth to liberalization and globalization. How it gave the birth, what the things that developed in the terms of liberalization and globalization, we are going to look ahead, right? So we'll continue with the paragraph. Although many of these plans were completed, success was not attained in achieving economic development in true sense. Hereby, government investigated the causes for the failures and determined to give a new form to the different economic policies in order to rectify the errors done in the past. Right? The government investigated each and everything. What are the errors? What are the things that makes the drawback for the economic policies, for the fiscal policies, right? All these things government implemented, tested and determined to give a new economic policy, right, in order to rectify the mistakes that they have done in the past 5 years, right? Next, in that regard, in the industrial policy of 1991, right, make an underline, industrial policy in which year? 1991. So you can imagine the gap. We got independence on 1947, that is 15th August, and the industrial policy was made in 1991. You can see the number of years, the gap, right, from 1947 to 1991. There were many 5 years plan, many projects, many schemes that were being developed by the government, but still the amount of success that was required, the amount of economic development that was required, we were not able to achieve that economic development. And what did the government do? They made a new industrial policy. In which year? 1991. Such economic reforms were implemented which could strengthen economic development, which are known as liberalization, privatization and globalization. These are the three forms, economic forms, that were implemented by the government, right? We are going to look all these 3 points in detail. Point number 1, economic development, economic liberalization. Government gradually reduces the restrictions and control imposed on private sector and encourages economic development. It actually encourages economic development. That was the first point that the government did, that is liberalization. What is liberalization? Giving certain amount, or you can say giving an extent freedom to the private sector to make the business in their own way. That is liberalization, right? See the first line, I'm repeating it again. Government gradually reduces the restrictions and control imposed on private sector, right? Many things were in the hands of government before the industrial policy. So the private sector was not given that much importance, was not given that amount of freedom which actually they require, right? But during the policy of 1991, they gave a liberalization concept to the private sector so that the business can be done very fast, right? Next, what it says, see, this is known as economic liberalization. Main economic reforms related to liberalizations which were made in the earlier period are as follows. Number 1, there was a reservation of 18 industries. How many industries the government reserved? 18 industries. For the industries other than them, compulsion to take government permission was eliminated, right? What did the government do? They made a liberalization concept. Except 18 industries, right, which were defined by the government, other industries were made liberalized. I'm reading the last line again, try to understand. For other industries than them means then the remaining 18 industries, compulsion to take government permission was eliminated. If they want to start their own small business, they do not require the permission of the government. Except those 18 industries that were being defined by the government. And some of them, of that 18 industries, I'll give you. For example, a company making weapons, right? This is one of the best example of those 18 industries which the government made reserved, right? Other than that, small industries, medium industries, they do not require any kind of permission to start their own business. That is the first thing that they followed. They eliminated the process, right? That was a revolutionary movement made by the government for the actual economic development in terms of economic liberalization. I'll give you one simple example. If you hold sand in your hand and the more tighter you fit it, right, the more it is going to escape. But if you make a certain kind of liberalization, if you hold your hand free, the sand is going to stand still in your hands, right? This is what it is. This is liberalization. If you hold it tight, it is going to escape either from this or the other way. But if you leave it free, right, it is going to stand there and give you the returns. So that is what the government did. They eliminated the process of taking permission, and that allowed many private sectors to develop very easily. Right? Point number 2. Areas other than railways. See, these are the some reserved industries, that is the 18 industries that the government kept. Some of the names have been mentioned in the textbook. Areas other than railways, atomic energy, defense, right? Defense means making weapons and all that things, were opened for private sectors. Areas other than railways, atomic energy and defense, all these things were still in the hands of government. Were still in the hands of government. Other than this, every sector, right, and every private business was kept open for the private sector. For the private sector, right? This was one of the biggest revolutionary movement that was being made by India, right, for the economic development of the nation. How economic development can be done? Of all this concept, that is liberalization, globalization and privatization. These are the three important factors or three important pillars through which economic development of a nation depends. If you keep everything in the hands of government, there would be no competition, there would be no private sector, so the amount of development will always be limited. But if you give different chances and different opportunities and different kind of freedoms to each and every sector, especially in the private sector, they would generate more business. And when they will generate more business, it would develop in terms of more employment. And then when they will develop more employment, it would give more amount of jobs to the people. And when the more amount of jobs would be given to the people, they would be earning more amount of salary. And when the more amount of salary would be earned, the amount of money that is revolving in the market would become very rapid, and that leads to the development of the nation. This is a whole cycle of an economic development. If you stop one thing, it is going to affect the other things, right? You have already studied that food chain concept in science, right? If any food chain concept has been broken from the center or from the initial level, it is going to affect each and everything, right? This is the same concept that our nations develop, and these are the three main important pillars for the economic development of our nation, right? So other than that remaining 18 sectors, few of the names have been mentioned in the textbook. The private sector was given total freedom to start their own business, right? Next, point number 3. Tradition of compulsory registration for industries was cancelled. Registration system was also been cancelled by the private sector, right? That means for the by the government for the private sector, right? Every point of time before these points were implemented, registration was made compulsory for the private sector. If they want to start a business, they have to make the registration. Now this system was been cancelled by the government for the fast development of private sector, right? Point number 4. Provisions to take government permissions for setting up industries which do not cause pollutions, are not hazardous for environment, was also cancelled. Those industries which do not create any kind of pollution or which do not create any kind of hazardous products, right, they do need to take the permission of the government. They can directly establish their own business, their own industries in the industrial area without taking the permission of the government. That was one of the biggest concept of liberalization, right? So these are the 4 points that were been made in the earlier period for the economic development of the nations, right? And this is the way liberalization concept slowly and steadily developed in each state, in each district, right, and in each city, and that gave birth to more economic development. And today what we are standing right now is all because of these 3 factors, right? All these 3 are interconnected to each other. If we go at the global level, that is globalization, that is at the international level. We are connected towards that thing also. For example, the IT sector, right? One company is in the other company is in the other country, and it goes on. That is globalization. We are connected to this way also. We are connected in the term of liberalization, giving freedom to the private sector, right? This is again, we are connected through liberalization. And third concept, that is privatization. How the privatization has been done, what are the methods that has been followed, all we are going to look into through it, right? All these three pillars are interconnected to each other, and that leads to a proper balanced economic development, right? Let us look at the advantages of liberalization. We have seen how the liberalization concept was being done, how the private sector was encouraged by the government, how the permission and the reservation systems were being cancelled. Now, what are the advantages that has been given because of liberalization to the private sector? Point number one. As a result of liberalization, private sector has got an opportunity to make unconcentrated development, which led to increase in production, right? This was one of the best advantageous point, that is increase in production. And when you make an increase in production, it leads to more job employment opportunities. People will get new jobs, people will be employed, people will be getting wages, people will be getting salaries. That was one of the biggest advantage of liberalizations, that is increase in production. As we have seen in the previous chapter, that wants are unlimited. If today, even today, if this sector, that is the private sector, is not present, we cannot imagine any kind of economic development in our country. Private sector plays a major role in the development of the country, right? And you can see from point number one that is given, that is increase in production. The more amount of production, the more amount of money it is going to generate, and it is going to give you the benefits. Point number two. Because of accepting policy of liberalization, global trade started getting an impetus, and there has been increase in global trade, right? As I have told, all these 3 points are interconnected to each other. And because of this liberalization, the companies which were being established in the other countries also, they started taking interest at the global level with our country, and we, as because of the part of liberalization, also started taking interest with them, and that led to the international business. That is what we are doing today, right? Because of the international business, we are earning huge amount of money. The foreign products are entering to India, the Indian products are entering to the foreign markets, and we are earning in their own particular currency. And this is how we are developing our business. That is again a benefit of liberalization, right? They started taking interest. They saw that they have made the new policy, that is the industrial policy, and many benefits were being given to the private sector. So they started dealing with India in terms of different business, right, through import and export, right? Next, point number 3. Because of increase in foreign trade, there has been an increase in reverse of foreign exchange. The amount of foreign exchange also started very rapidly, right? And we started to a different movement. We started towards the real economic development. This is how it is, right? This is how the economic development is done. One small concept that we have only seen liberalization, and you can see the impact of liberalization even that reaches to the other countries of the world, right? Business is directly affected, private sectors are directly affected, different sources of business raw materials are directly affected because of this factor, that is liberalization. That is liberalization, right? So that is again an increase in foreign trade and foreign exchange. People started exchanging goods and services, money from one country to other country, that again led to economic development, right? That is advantage number 3. And number 4, internal infrastructure facilities increased due to liberalization. Facilities, technologies, right? That is also increased because of liberalization. We were not good at technology in the previous era, not even we are good today, we are developing. As I have said in chapter 15, India is a developing nation. So the systems, the technologies, the infrastructure facilities that we saw, which were coming or which were there present in the foreign or in the western countries, we started to develop like that. We started to make the infrastructure facilities as we were seeing in the terms of business from other countries, and we started developing that policies. Look at today, the standard of living, that is also a part of infrastructure facilities. The facilities that you have at your house, the construction of your house, the systems that you use, the technology that you use, mobile phone, cars, right? Everything that you use, that is all a part of infrastructure facilities. The room, the designs, the kitchens, everything from a small pin to a big thing, right? That is a part of infrastructure facilities, right? We require a comfort zone. And how we understood all these things? Because of the western culture, because of the western culture that we saw while making a business. And how that business was given the permission? That business was given the permission on the basis of liberalization, on the basis of liberalization, right? So even the infrastructure facilities started to develop in a more rapid way. That was again an advantages of liberalization, right? I hope all the 4 points are clear. As I have said previously, coin has two sides. If there are certain things which works as an advantage, there are always certain drawbacks. Which are the drawbacks? Let's look into the textbook. Point number 1. In spite of decrease in restrictions, monopoly could not be checked, right? We cannot check monopoly in spite of decrease in restrictions. We cannot see which is the sole product in the market, which is the monopolistic product in the market, available in the market. Government failed to identify the monopoly in the market. Which private sector holds the highest amount of products, holds the highest amount of market in terms of production, in terms of product? They failed to identify the monopolistic product in the market. Why they failed? Because it gave liberalization. So every private sector started to make their product by their own way, by their own system. So there were n number of products available in the market. And when the government made an analytical data, where is the monopoly in the market, they failed to identify which product had the monopoly. So that is again a disadvantage. That is again a disadvantage. Point number 2. As focus has only been paid on industrial sector, India has remained backward in the development of agriculture field. That is again a drawback. We are looking towards one sector, then we are forgetting the other sector. As I have discussed previously, that 40, 50, 55% of the people are dependent on one sector. The national income is also dependent on the agriculture sector, right? 26%, that is what we saw. That is purely dependent on the agriculture sector. And at that point of time, I told you there are different sectors that we would be learning. This is what we are focusing on, the different sectors. Whatever we are focusing right now is the industrial sector, So now we are diverting our particular focus from the agriculture sector to the industrial sector, right? And as the industrial sector has been given more importance, what happens? We are forgetting about the agriculture sector. That is again a disadvantage. the most disadvantage of each and every point, right, that is the bottom line, right, of making each and everything as a part of disadvantage is on population rise. Everywhere when you find a disadvantage, right, that would be because of the population growth. Because of the population growth, the product and the resources that are available in the market are always limited, but the number of users are constantly increasing. So if the government sector is trying to fulfill the demand of one sector, the other sector's demand keeps on standing. They cannot, fulfill the demand of each and every sector at one point of time. So that is again a disadvantage. That is again a disadvantage that the government is, creating. They cannot reach everywhere at one point of time. They need to focus on one sector, right? Try to develop the one sector, and what happens? The other sector remains idle. This are what the drawback is, right? And especially this industrial sector we find in the urban areas rather than the villages. So there is always a gap in the terms of standard of living between the urban people and the rural people. That is what we find today. The people who are working in companies, the people who are working in banks, the people who are working in the IT sectors, right, the people who are working as the jobs of marketing, their standard of living is totally different from the agricultural sector. That means those people who are living in the rural areas. So that is again a drawback. That is again a drawback. This is what is happening in India. And because of this, imbalanced thing, we are in the developing nation. We are in the developing nation, right? As we will study more and more of different chapters with different concept, your concept of economic development would become stronger and stronger. What actually is economic development? What are the different phases of economic development which are connected to each other? You will learn slowly and steadily, and then at the end of the textbook you will understand what actually economic development is. These are just the small parts that you are learning. As you will go to new chapters, you will understand in a more better way, or in a more stronger way, right? So I request the students to read the chapter each and every time, right? Next, point number 3, there has been increase in disparity of income. That is what I have said, disparity of income. Rich people are getting rich and poor people are getting poor. Standard of living of urban areas, that is the people who are following the industrial sector, and the standard of living of the agricultural sector, the people who are still concerned in the rural areas, who are connected to the agricultural field, right, development of food grains and all the agricultural activities, again their standard of living is low. So the income is also low. So if the income is low, if there is a difference in income, obviously there would be a difference in the standard of living. That is again a disadvantage. That is again a disadvantage. Next, point number 4. Because of increase in import and decrease in export, foreign debt has increased. So what happens now? Increase in imports. People of our country, right, they want the quality products which are being produced in other countries. People are not concerned with the local market, with the local product, right? I'll just give you one example, right? You will understand in the simplest way. If I give you 2 options, right, to buy a Nike shoe or to buy a Bata shoe, which one will you prefer? I hope you understand the difference. And this is what leads to the more import factor rather than the export factor. We are buying the goods which are coming from foreign markets rather than buying the local products from the Indian goods and services which are available at the local markets, right? This is what we are doing. We are giving an income opportunity to the other countries, and we cannot stop them, right? We cannot say that your product will not be allowed anymore in our country. Why? Because we have made a policy of liberalization. We need to understand, I have told in the previous chapter, right, that you have to be very selective while buying the products from the market as per your need and requirement. And when you buy a foreign product, you are making an income to the other country. So what happens? The debt increases. This is what it is, right? Debt in Gujarati means denu. Denu vadhi jai. That is what it is. We need to pay them because it is their product in our country. And people are mad buying the foreign products. I can count it on fingers, right? The products that you are using, the mobile phones, iPhone, Samsung, HTC, OnePlus, all these are foreign products. Second thing, the TV system that you have, Sony, MI, all these things, right? Philips, and many other products which are coming from the foreign markets, right? Many other names of the company, they belong to Japan, right? That is what you are using at your home, right? The cars that you are using, Maruti Suzuki is an Indian product, except that Hyundai, Honda, all these things, all these company, Toyota, are not the Indian companies. They are the foreign companies, and because of this factor, that is liberalization, they have entered in our market, and we are buying that products only from the market, right? Daily many products that we are using, we don't know where actually it comes from. We must be aware that what you are using, either it is an Indian product or either it is a foreign product. This is one of the biggest drawback of liberalization. What is the other business people that is coming from the other countries? They have identified that in India people are mad behind spending on foreign products, right? And they know that thing, right? Even today, if there are two phones available in the market, one is the iPhone and one is the local phone, people are always going to buy the higher standard. And that is what leads to a greatest disadvantage because of liberalization. What happens? The import increases and the export decreases. Just try to analyze by yourself that in the foreign countries, what amount of Indian products are available. Is there any kind of monopoly in their market? No. But obviously their monopoly of their products in the Indian market, yes, it is. Many products are being surrounded in the Indian market rather than the local products, and they keep on making export, that means making export to India. They know that we are going to get the maximum profit, and the profit margin is in thousands per day, right? This is a biggest drawback. A phone that you are buying from the market, a currently new phone that has been introduced, is worth, for example, 30 to 50,000 rupees. After 1 or 1.5 years, the same phone with the same technology cost around 20 to 25,000 rupees. Can you imagine the price difference? So you need to understand what would be the actual cost for the company. If the same phone, reduces the price to 50% after 1.5 year, and still they are able to get the profit. So what we are doing, we are buying a technological thing or a product which is an immaterial thing, which is going to be useless within after 5 to 10 years. right? We are buying that product at a higher price, making them the profit rather than buying a local product from the market. That is again a disadvantage. It is an advantage for those foreign countries, those foreign product, right, who are exporting their product to India. So we need to understand, we need to be selective and then buy the product from the market, right? So it is again an disadvantage. I hope the concept is clear. That is of liberalization. Moving towards the second topic, that is privatization. Privatization means the process in which ownership and management of industrial units under state control is handed over or transferred to the private sector, right? The management system, or you can say the ownership of the management rather than the state, it has been handed to the private sector. That means to the owner of the business. As per his wish, as per his own decisions, he can manage his company. And this process is known as privatization. This process is known as privatization, right? Next, what we are going to look at the methods. Firstly, those areas which are reserved for public sectors are now open for the private sector. In this liberalization concept, those areas which were only open for the public sector, that is by the government, now are being opened for the private sector also, right? Next, state keep the ownership of state-owned companies under its control and gives the charge of management to the private companies, or state keeps the management in its own hand and gives ownership to the private companies. The best example is PGVCL, Paschim Gujarat Vidyut Private Limited. The ownership lies, or we can say leads, into the hands of government, but the management system has been done by the private sector, has been done by the private sector. I'm reading the last line again, right? State management in its own hands, right, and gives ownership to a private company, right? So benefits that would be given to an employee would be as per government, would be as per government, but the work process, the system and the management planning would be as per the private sector, would be as per the private sector. There are many sectors in which government is not able to hold control. They keep on failing in making a control in their own management, that is in their own state management. So they have adopted a method through which they have given liberalization and allowed the private sector to manage each and everything. So the employees would be getting the benefit as per the government sectors, but the system and the management planning would be as per the private sector. One of the best example is PGVCL, right? That runs, or the management thing, that is all in the hands of private sector, but the benefits that an employee would be getting would be as per the government sector, that is the state government sector, right? Many places the government is giving freedom to the private sector to take control of the state sector also, state government sectors also, so that the business can be done properly, right? These are the methods of privatization that the government has adopted in today's system, right? Look into the advantages, what it says. There is an increase in number of production units in the industrial sector, increase in number of production unit, right? That is again a benefit of private sector. Now the private sector was been given the freedom, they don't need to take any kind of permission, they don't need to make any kind of registration, so obviously the production sector would going to increase. So that is again an advantage. Point number 2, production has been increased in capital intensive and consumable commodities due to privatization, right? Production has been increased, production has been increased in capital intensive and consumable commodities due to privatization. Production has increased and the amount of capital investment has also been increased due to privatization, right? Point number 3. Working capacity of public sector has improved due to privatization of public sector enterprise. That is again in competition because of the private sector moving very fast in the economy, right? There is a competition between the government sector and the private sector. The government cannot sit idly. If they are going to sit idly with their own companies, the private sector is going to take control of their products in the market. And the products that are being produced by the government sector, no one is going to look at it also. So that has led to the development and competition. That has led to an competition for the government sector also. That is again an advantage of private sector, right? These are the advantages of privatization. That is, the public sector has improved due to privatization of public sector enterprise. There is a competition, and there is again and one kind of the management controlling done by the private sector of the government sector. So the amount of the capacity of the public unit employees has also been increased. That is again an advantage. Next, point number 3. Sorry, next topic, that is disadvantages of privatization. 1. Economic power has centralized, and as a result of privatization, because of which evil monopoly has increased. Right? Every coin has two sides, the same concept. There are some advantages, obviously there are some disadvantages. Because of lack of the control of the government sector and allowing the private sector to enter the market freely, we find monopoly in the market. We find monopoly in the market. They have made certain products so mandatorily available that without that products a human cannot survive, and they are ready to pay the price, whatever the price is. That leads to monopoly. That leads to monopoly, right? Monopoly means no competition. Monopoly means no competition, no substitute product available in the market for that product. You only have one option to buy, that is only that product from the market. And the private sector can charge whatever the amount they want from the consumer. They can put a price tag of whatever price they want, as now they have the monopoly of that product in the market, right? So that is again a disadvantage. Point number 2. Cottage industries have not developed properly due to privatization. Only large industries have been benefited. Small industries, cottage industries were not even given that much kind of importance. No schemes, no projects were being developed for the cottage and small scale industries. Only big unit sectors were being focused and were being given the importance. That is again an disadvantage of private sector, right? Point number 3. Prices have not remained under control due to privatization, and that has led to the problem of price rise. As I have told previously, because of monopolistic things or because of monopolistic market, right, the prices are never stable. The prices are never stable. They keep on increasing. They keep on increasing. Government lacks control in maintaining a balanced price in the market. Private sector has been given the concept of liberalization, so privatization leads to more price rise, right? They keep on increasing the price of product every year, every 6 months, every quarterly, or every 1 year they introduced a new product in the market with the higher price, and we don't have any option but to buy the products of higher price. And government cannot control on all these factors. Why? Because we have seen the first factor, that is liberalization. So that leads to a disadvantage. That leads to an disadvantage. Because of privatization, the prices of the products are going on constantly higher and higher. That is all about privatization, right? The first thing that the government did was liberalization, and that gave the freedom to the private sector, that is privatization, to allow enter into the market, make the production, right, and get the benefits of economic development, right? And there are some disadvantages also, that is also we have discussed. Moving towards the last concept, that is globalization. Global level, at the international level, even they are watching at our country, what is going on in our country. They are keeping their eye on our products. They are keeping their focus on our industrial sector, whether it is a private sector or whether it is a government sector. Now, what impact does globalization have on our products, on our country, on our economic development? Let's look into the textbook. Globalization is the process of connecting one country economy with the world's economy, right? Underline that statement. As a result of which flow of goods, services, technology and labor is easily available in the world, it may be flow of goods, it may be flow of services, it may be flow of technology for better production, for better systems, for better infrastructure. All these things is easily available today in India or elsewhere in other countries of the world. Why it is easily available? Because of the globalization factor, that whatever we want, maybe of whichever country it is, we get it very easily. That is what globalization is, right? Following improvements have taken place due to globalization, right? Point number 1, obstacles of trade between two nations have been improved. That is one kind of improvement that we can say, that obstacles that were been there, right, of two countries, they have been removed, or we can say they have been improved, right? These obstacles have been removed, and the trade of two nations has been developed. There were many obstacles in the terms of import and export, right? Import duty and export duty, all these things have been made on a liberal basis, so the products are easily available, or the flow of goods is easily available from one country to the other country. That is again a benefit, right? Second, such a condition has been created so that the capital exchange, the amount of capital from one country to another country, that is the capital exchange, can easily take place between two nations, right? Next, point number 3, obstacles in the way of exchange of technology have been removed. The technological system that is prevailing in the Western countries, we can easily get those technologies in our countries also. And the technology and the IT sector that we are developing, even they can get it easily also. That is globalization. Point number 4, free exchange of labor may be there among different nations of the world. Even the labors from one country to the other country and their labors to our country, that is a free exchange. Of labor may be there among different nations of the world also. So that is again a benefit, right? That is improvements because of the globalization. Right? What are the effects of globalization? See, that is given on the next topic. Mixed effects of globalization have been there on the Indian economy. Many advantages and disadvantages are there, which are as follows. Now we have seen the effects, right? The products can be, easily transferred from one country to the other country. The IT things, that again we can transfer from one country to other country. Even the labor we can transfer from one country to the other country. These are the effects of globalization. Now look into the advantages and disadvantages of globalization. What are the benefits that we are getting because of globalization, and what are the disadvantages that are still prevailing because of globalization, right? Advantage number 1, FDI, that is foreign direct investment, is encouraged due to globalization. the foreign money is been easily invested in the Indian companies. So that is a benefit, because their currency is much more higher in terms of value than the Indian currency, right? Right now today, if I'm not wrong, as per the reports, right, dollar is around 76 rupees or 75.5 rupees today. So that is the valuation of dollars of United States. If those people invest in our country, their investment would be much more higher than our own rupees. So that is the FDI, foreign direct investment, that leads to an encouraged development, especially in the business sector. In the business sector. Point number 2. Goods produced in the developed countries can easily be obtained due to globalization, right? We can easily get the goods because of the globalization of whichever country it is. So that is again an advantage. Point number 3. Developing countries like India can withstand competition at the international level due to globalization. If the goods are coming from foreign country to our country, it creates a kind of competition. If you can do that thing, even as India, we can also produce certain products and we can export to your country also. So that leads to a better competition, that leads to a better environment because of globalization. It creates, or it develops, or it gives birth to a competition at the international level. More than 195 countries are there. So if we see the trade exchanging going on between other countries of the world with India, and with India through other countries of the world, we find a lot of competition, we find a lot of new products in the market, and that leads, right, or we can say that leads India so that they can stand in the competition at the international level. So that is again an benefit, right? Next, that is disadvantage. Two sides, right? Point number 1. Expected success has not been attained in finding solutions to the problem of poverty and unemployment due to globalization, right? Expected success, the amount of success that we want or that we require, right? We are not able to find a solution to that problem. Why? Because of poverty and unemployment. I have already said the main cause root of any kind of drawback is population. So that is an disadvantage. That is an disadvantage. Right? Point number 2. Developing countries has not acquired proper benefits of increase in export which they should have acquired. What happens to the developing countries? The amount of export that they actually plan is not as per the planning. But what happens negatively? The import increases. The import increases. So that is a disadvantage. That is an disadvantage. That is what India is facing even today also. The amount of import from other countries is much more higher than the amount of export. This is again a problem. That is a disadvantage. That is an disadvantage. And point number 3. Large scale industries have acquired more benefits while small scale industries have obtained less benefits. As I have previously said, focusing on the large sector, on the large business, is the primary concern of this 3 factors, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. Big industries, big sectors have been given more importance, have been given more focus rather than the small sectors. So that works again as a disadvantage. Right? Every coin has its 2 sides, whichever the factor it is, whether it is liberalization, privatization and globalization. But currently all these 3 systems are even prevailing in today's economic system, and because of these 3 pillars that are standing still today, our economic development is on a positive way. That is what we are presently living in this situation. Slowly and steadily the business are going to get started, and again the development progress will be more and more, and again we will be living a normal life, and that would be a more economic development. This is what we are going to see all these structures very soon. Right now, because of this disease, we are not able to see the proper economic development. Everything is imbalanced today, but slowly and steadily we'll get back on track, and we will move towards the path of economic development because of these three factors, that is liberalization, privatization, and globalization. I hope whatever concepts that we did today are clear. I request the students to read the chapter twice, right? Read from the textbook rather than from other materials, and try to understand it as per the video that you go and listen on. Keep your textbook with you, make each and everything underline which I have said, and try to read it twice and thrice so that your concept would be much more stronger. Please make a note of today's concept. Thank you.